my first guest, of course, here at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I'm delighted to invite into the studio the gorgeous Sam Underwood. Thanks for coming in, Sam.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
And you have dressed for the Scottish weather with your beanie hat on as well.
Yes, yeah. And a suede jacket just for the rain. Perfect, right?
Of course. Is it feeling quite heavy now?
No, it's feeling all right. It's feeling all right. I duck under a shelter if I need to.
This is your third year, am I right, at the festival?
Yeah, I came 2 years ago, and then I came in 2011. So yeah, it's my third time. Third time's a charm.
And how does it feel third time round? Do you feel...
I every time I come back here, I feel like I haven't left. It's one of those really familiar places, and especially the energy of, thousands of people trying to sell their art and give a platform to their work. It's exhilarating. So I feel like I always just slip back into that, and it's a delicious feeling.
Would you say that you have? Could you strike me as the kind of person after your first year at the Fringe, you're going to take notes. You're going to think, okay, what can I do next time that's going to be better? Second time round, okay, what am I going to do? Has this been a learning curve for you for this time round?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Well, and this year I've decided to up the stakes, and I'm actually producing 3 other shows this year. I've got 2 friend companies that I've produced, and what my theatre company's doing another play in the same venue. So I definitely learned a lot from the second year. I think that was, I would say, my most quote unquote successful year in terms of producing after I'd learned from the first. But this year I felt like I had a good handle on it. I also got to meet a lot of wonderful people at the Fringe that are still here that I've been able to kind of collaborate with and give me good advice. So I feel it's actually going pretty well. Like for 4 shows, it's going good.
Do you sleep? Do you get any time to yourself?
I have to, and that's actually been a big part in all seriousness with this festival, because of the not just of what my show deals with, because to be totally honest, it is a real exhilarating show and I get a lot out of it, but because I'm singing a lot every day as well, and the weather here is, the weather is up and down, that it does affect you vocally and from a health standpoint, so I have to get a certain amount of sleep, and it's one of my regiments this year as well, and it's also just good for me from a mental health standpoint as well. So, which
is exactly what we want to talk about. But I have to say, of course, is it that most people kind of want to talk to you about, like, oh, you've been in the Homeland, of course, Fear of the Walking Dead? I have to touch on these shows because they're such huge shows and such a huge part of your life. Are you sick of talking about them, or do you kind of feel?
No, I was incredibly lucky and privileged to get those jobs. They're, thousands of actors, try and get those jobs, and millions dream of them. So I'm very lucky to have had them. So, no, I love talking about my work. It's why I'm here. It's my vocation. So no, I don't get bored of it. I think that there are definitely more interesting conversations about the work than the regular kind of, one-off questions. But no, I really enjoy talking about it.
Favourite, before we talk about your actual show, Losing Days, what would you say has been your favourite role so far that you've played?
Do you mean on camera?
On camera, yeah.
I have to say that Mark and Luke in The Following, and mostly, not just because, but I got to play twins, and the process as an actor of going backwards and forwards between 2 complete opposite characters, one incredibly arrogant and very alpha male, and one kind of very subservient, very more intellectual and introverted, was just such a thrilling experience, and a big challenge as well, because it was like within the space of minutes I had to go backwards and forwards between these 2 people. So it was I relish challenges. I really do, and that was a big one for me.
Let's talk about your actual show, Losing Days, and of course the sentiment behind that, because you're very honest and open, aren't you, about your mental health, which of course we all have.
Yeah, it's taken me a long time. It really has. And honestly, up until very recently, I decided to create a show about a year ago around it. I've been obviously dealing with this for years before I was diagnosed, and it was a very rocky and very, very interesting journey, which you'll see in the show, to getting to my diagnosis. But the desire to do the show definitely came out of the fact that I realized that I hadn't been encouraged to talk about it, and the fact that I wasn't encouraged meant that I just kind of made distractions for myself and kind of pushed something down, and it got some kind of dangerous spots at times. So it was actually when I was in Edinburgh 2015, I went to go see Bryony Kimming's show Fake It Till You Make It, and it was in that theatre that my life changed, and I recognized something in me, and I truly believe that the art can change lives and can deliver a message and start a conversation. And again, I feel it's a responsibility of mine, since it's taken me so long to want to talk about it, that there are other people out there that are going to have the same issues. And if I can use my platform for any decent reason whatsoever, this would absolutely be it.
What was your actual diagnosis? So
I've been diagnosed with manic depression or bipolar, but that always makes me think of bears, so I usually say manic depression. It sounds more theatrical as well, so I enjoy it a bit more. But I was diagnosed just over a year ago, so I'm bipolar 2. I don't deal with the extreme bipolar. I'm not constantly hallucinating or anything like that, but it's still pretty severe at times. So I'm on a more balanced medication plan right now, and everything's really good. I just moved over to a different therapy called CBT and DBT. So that's my diagnosis right now. And the funny thing is, there are a lot of crossovers with diagnoses. There's also things like borderline personality disorder and all these other things, and they all kind of cross over. So because there's no blood tests for a lot of these conditions, a lot of people can either be misdiagnosed, or you can kind of be cross-diagnosed with multiple things. So at the moment, I know for sure that I am bipolar. Are there other things in there? I probably have, some an anxiety addition to that as well. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I will, however, say that due to me not addressing it properly for quite a while, that I have lost a lot of days to this, and which is, time is my most valuable thing. So the idea of losing hours, days, and weeks to a condition that, I can work harder on addressing and still continue to do so, those are the ways it's held me back. And they're more from a personal thing. I've definitely missed out on a couple of professional opportunities that were due to me not addressing it and not feeling courageous enough to want to talk about it. But again, that's why I feel it's so important for me to be doing this and reaching out to people.
And this is why you've called your show Losing Days.
Yeah.
What do you think the audience will actually get from the show?
Well, first of all, it's Frank Turner's music. The Tape Deck Heart album plays a central role in it. So the first thing they'll get a lot of Frank Turner music, and his music is so joyous and uplifting and powerful and raw. So it's not a depressing show in any way. It's actually a pretty manic show. So they'll get a lot of entertainment value out of it as well. But I think they'll also get a lot of more insight into the complexity surrounding people that deal with mental health issues, not just bipolar, but also an insight into why people feel the need to not want to talk about it in public. So it's not just for people who out there in the audience are dealing with things, it's also for people who maybe feel uncomfortable asking people or really asking how people are doing, and feeling safe enough to say, you can talk to me about this if you need to, because that is just as important as me feeling safe to say, I'm not doing so great. So hopefully they'll take that in terms of an idea away, but I also just hope they leave the place, wanting to rock and roll to Frank Turner, because he's amazing. You
are so honest. So I guess you're saying don't fake it till you make it. Be honest about your feelings.
Yeah, be honest, and it's hard. It is really hard. And look, I've been a hypocrite for a long time. I've been writing this show for ages, and it's only up until very recently that I've discovered that the performance aspect of what I love to do, I thought I was using it as a channel to kind of deal with my stuff, and it's not the same thing as talking, and that's something really important for people to know, because when we don't talk, we express ourselves, and expression can be sometimes not a particularly positive thing.
And I can never imagine you not talking, Sam, that's for sure.
I don't shut up, I know.
When and where can we see your show? Give us the details.
Right, so it's the whole month of the festival, except the 15th and the 21st. It's at the Newtown Theatre, which is on George Street. It's at 9:40 in the evening. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long, and you'll have an amazing time, I promise.
Go and connect with Sam on a whole new level. Sam Underwood, thanks for coming in and chatting to us.
Thank you so much. Cheers.